Catholic News Roundup is brought to you in part by PewSitter.com, your online Catholic newspaper for the third millennium, CatholicMediaCoalition.org, in line with the Church, online with the world.
And TheAmericanCatholic.com, politics and culture from a Catholic perspective.
Hello and welcome to today's edition of Catholic News Roundup. I'm Matthew McAuliffe. Boston backpedals on so-called gay mass. The Archdiocese has gone back on its ban of a mass to celebrate gay pride, and the Boston Globe says church officials have set a date for next month. What's being called the Pride Mass was originally scheduled for this past weekend, but was canceled after faithful Catholics complained and a prayer service was held outside the church in its place this past weekend. Church doctrine identifies sodomy as a sin, crying out to God for vengeance. But the vice chairman of St. Cecilia's Parish Council made it clear in his speech at the prayer service that he does not feel the same way, saying, quote, "We are not immature or sinful because we are gay or lesbian or transgender," end quote. According to the article in the Globe, St. Cecilia's Rainbow Ministry will be hosting the Mass at 11 a.m. on July 10th. Government-wide sensitivity training. The USDA is pushing government-wide homosexual training, beginning with its own people. The Washington Times says the Secretary of Agriculture has asked the Office of Personnel Management to introduce its own brand of so-called sensitivity training. The conditioning includes a discussion of what the government calls heterosexism, the belief that marriage is between one man and one woman, and compares it to racism. This marks one more case of how Obama is subtly pushing the homosexual agenda into every corner of the government. Earlier this year, Obama and the Democrats successfully ended the ban on the military's don't ask, don't tell policies. Ducking pro-life pledge. A pro-life group has asked Republican presidential hopefuls to sign a pro-life pledge, but some are trying to wriggle out of fighting for life. The group, known as Susan B. Anthony List, had their request flat out refused by Mitt Romney, and candidates Herman Cain and Gary Johnson found excuses as well. Cain said he adamantly supported everything in the pledge except for the Pain Capable Act, which he insisted must be handled by Congress. Among those that signed the pledge were Michelle Bachmann, Newt Gingrich, and Ron Paul. The pro-life pledge requires each candidate to appoint only judges that defend life, to fight for the Hyde Amendment across the whole government, and to defund Planned Parenthood, among other causes. The whole story can be found on our resource page by clicking on the link right over here. Stay with us. We'll be back in just a few seconds.
Catholic News Roundup is brought to you in part by NewOxfordReview.org, the voice of Catholic Orthodoxy, in print and on the web, and RenewAmerica.com, expanding the influence of America's grassroots in the cause of freedom.
Pro-life or persecuted. A pro-life leader is fighting charges after protecting an abortion clinic from what looked like a bomb package while attending a peaceful prayer vigil in Wilmington, Delaware. Police arrested Kurt Linneman, the executive director of Maryland's Bioethical Center of Reform, after he called in a box suspiciously placed in front of the clinic's doors. After police determined the package was not a threat, they turned on Linneman, detaining him for 2 hours, after which they charged him with disorderly conduct. Linneman will appear in court on June 23rd, where he will fight the charges laid against him. You can read the full story on our resource page by clicking on the link right outside the screen. Muslims slaying Christians. Muslims in the southern state of Sudan are attacking churches, detaining Christians, and killing them. Compass Direct News reports that the plans of Christian-populated southern Sudan to secede from the government have sparked deadly persecution. Soldiers of Sudan's armed forces have looted several churches, shot a seminarian, and detained and tortured a priest for 2 days after arresting him in front of his own parish. Other atrocities continue, and sources within the country have asked for prayers and fasting from Christians across the world. I'm Matthew McAuliffe. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure and tune in tomorrow for your daily dose of Catholic News Roundup right here on RealCatholicTV.com, and be sure to check out The Vortex today, where Michael talks about how the New York Times nails it with regard to the church in America. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure and tell all your friends about us, and as always, God bless you.